So I was talking to Connie earlier about a revelation that hit me, and it's not unknown. This is no major. Nobody's ever heard of this before, so I'm not sharing anything groundbreaking. But I heard Gloria Copeland say one time, it's not necessarily the new truth that'll give us the overwhelming breakthrough in our lives, so much as it is the acting out on the revelation that's already been given to us. So it has occurred to me that how men treat their daughters and how men treat the mother or mothers of their children is so essential to their children's healthy relationships going forward. They treat their sons how to treat their wives or the mother, their children. But they also treat the daughters kind of a baseline standard of male behavior. And part of what happens is they impart a, what you doing, boy? You going to bed?
Sorry.
No problem. You sleeping with your Star Wars necklace?
Yeah.
All right. May the force be with you. Anyway, they establish a default standard for how, kind of a baseline for how they should be treated. Now, here's what happens. We call women loyal because they stand by us in our mess. We say she's really loyal, she's really faithful, she loves me a lot, or she loves him a lot. Or it could be that the standard they would train with for male affection, male connection, was a faulty standard to begin with. Well, I ran around on her and she loved me so much she stayed, or I, treated her emotionally cold, or acted like an idiot, or I was withdrawn and she stayed, or I was always in a bad mood and she stayed. She loves me. Does she love you? Or is that just how she was treated before? Did that become the standard? Does she not really mind not going out and being treated special because she's just that great of a woman? Or is it she was never told that that's what she should expect? Does she not mind that you don't ever tell her she's beautiful? Or is it that nobody ever told her that? Nobody ever, she's not aware that that's missing. It's the ultimate, if a tree fell in the woods and there was nobody there to hear it, would it make a sound? And I think a lot of women don't even know they're falling short of what God wants them to have because they're continuing in the legacy of what was shown to them. Dads explode, dads yell at moms, dads scream at the kids, dads terrorize the house, and then dads sit down and have ice cream by themselves and want to make a joke. And the daughter's so relieved that the dad's making a joke again that she misinterprets that as that males act like idiots, and then without even acknowledging acting like an idiot, they say, oh, it's over now, let's be friends again. And she adapts that and adopts that as acceptable treatment from a man. And with nobody there showing her consistent respect, with nobody there reverencing her mother to show how it's supposed to be done, the trees are falling, but she can't hear it. She can't hear that this is not right. She can't distinguish. And so I don't know why she loves Billy. He's such an a-hole. He's such a jerk, but she really loves him. Love is blind. Or maybe she just doesn't know any better. And maybe a lot of times we say, I say, oh, Connie's so great, and she just this and that, da-da. Is she that great? Or is it that I can get a pass on substandard treatment because it's what she knows? How often has she heard her mother built up? How often has she had herself built up? The woman you're married to, or even your own daughter, when she goes out to marry, somebody else, does she know she's supposed to be told she's beautiful at 24, 34, 44, and 54? Does she know she's supposed to get physical affection? Does she know that her husband should always have desire for her and should build her up? Does she know she should never be mocked in her own house? That the dad and the children should never gang up on her and make her feel stupid, or make her feel like she's a burden, or make her feel like she's incompetent? Does she know that she should be honored and reverenced no matter what? Well, how was her mother treated? What standard? Was her mother the laughing stock of the house? Was her mother the one that was always messing up the family? Was their mother the one that was always shopping too much or taking too much time or never ready or never paying attention? And if the dad just browbeats and browbeats and browbeats, and the kids get older and they get to gang up on and come on mom, and dad says come on mom, and the kids say come on mom, and instead dad going, whoa, 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 that's your mother now, don't do that, treat her right, and modeling and mandating that treatment. Then when that girl gets married, is she really that great of an easygoing wife, or does she just not know any better? The other thing I think is this is what happens sexually too. I think a lot of women, women sleep with guys for a couple reasons or a combination of reasons. Sometimes they sleep with guys, and I'm talking about what we would call promiscuity, which I hate that word, but, a lot of guys. For a combination of a lot of reasons. A lot of times it's abuse, early sexual awakening that was done by force. Sometimes it's for male affection, to say, well, I want to gain male connection and be the object of a man's affection, and so I go along with this. And sometimes it's for libido. Girls are sexual beings just like boys. I even think a lot of boys that are young and horny and everything else, I think that's because they're trained always to be aware of female sexuality and attracted to female sexuality. You say, well, girls aren't like boys sexually. They don't have the same sexual desires. I disagree. I think that they're just not in a society where it's always engaged. I mean, you think of all the movies you saw back in the 60s, 70s, or whatever. We are not trained to look at the male body lustfully. We are not trained to look at the male body sexually. In the movies, in the fraternities, and the horror movies and stuff we saw, it was always peering through the female sexual body. It was never peering at 8 guys, and it was never 8 girls looking at 3 guys in a shower. It was always this guy spying on the girls. So young men are forced into sexual awakening early throughout our society. But I wonder if women were given that same opportunity, that they might be, equal sexual beings the way God made them. But I digress. But the thing is, I think so. Women, particularly in hookup culture, hook up with guys that don't value them. Guys that are looking for a stick in a hole, insert tab A into slot B, withdrawal, repeat till climax. They're introduced to that sexually, and therefore they go into marriage with no higher sexual expectation for pleasure, for equality, for dignity, for creativity, for contribution, for energy. And they're actually told, look, go along with it for your husband. And then when they get their 40s and 50s, 30s, they figure out, wait a minute, God made me a sexual being too, and I have demands. But they start making demands on the tail end of, a man's interest, and men become self-absorbed and self-obsessed, and their desire, starts to wane, etc. But the problem is they sleep with boys while they're girls, and then they marry boys that's their definition. So women get introduced of stick in a hole, and then guys think that is sex. And guys keep that going, and women keep tolerating it until the woman figures out they want more, and the man's like, give you more, I don't even know what more is. But all of this is rooted in nobody's educating men how to treat their daughters and how to treat the mothers of their children. And so because they're not doing that, sons grow up not knowing how to reverence and cherish a woman, and daughters grow up not expecting and demanding that same cherishing. And so how much does she really love you? Or how much of your crap and your bullying and your intimidation and your yelling and your pouting and your emotional distance and coldness is just par for her course? I mean, does she look and say, man, my dad never treated my mom like this. My dad was never like this. Or are you just a continuation of every man she's ever been around? I promised Connie before we got married, I said, you will never be able to relate to common women's problems. I'm not perfect by any means. Marriage is 99% grace. One of my spiritual sons told me the other day, it's 99% God, so the 1% that it's our cooperation makes all the difference. But I said, when you sit around with your girlfriends at Starbucks and they're complaining about my man won't spend time with my kids, or my man, doesn't surprise me, or my man won't date me, or he won't dance with me, or he won't be my friend, or he always with his guys and he's not with me, he won't spend time with the kids, he won't help around the house, he doesn't give me that good loving, he's goes quick and rolls over and forgets about me, and I got to finish myself, or he never has creativity, never makes me first, blah, blah, blah. I said, when it comes around to you and they say, Connie, what's your marriage like? You'll just sip on your latte and say, girls, I can't relate. I promised her that. Why? I really realized that it was my dad that told me how to treat a lady. My dad told me how to respect a woman. My dad demanded in our house that we respect, and he didn't just yell at the kids, don't talk to your mom that way. He modeled that servanthood. He modeled the first one to get up and get her a drink at dinner, the first one to help her in the kitchen, the first one to accommodate her and wait on her and serve her. And that taught me how to treat a woman. And that's why Connie gets the best of the best. And Olivia, Connie was dictating something to Siri the other day. She was writing me. She says, I realize we have an absolutely supernatural marriage, life, and family in every way, shape, and form. Like, she was dictating that into her text. And Olivia from the back seat said, I'll tell you what, there has never been a truer statement ever made. Even my daughter knows that our life and marriage is heaven blessed. And I look at Connie and I go, wow, from the abuse and the things that you went through, from men, etc., I get to benefit from their crappy treatment of you. And I said, I refuse to be a predator in your life. And I apologize to her tonight for any time I treated you bad, because I know the people that cleared the way before me trodden down underfoot your emotional demand to protect yourself and to look out for yourself and the standard by which you'd be treated. I repent for every time I opportunistically took advantage of that, even through laziness of how I relate to you emotionally and respect. Man, I don't want to be the vulture that comes along and feasts on the carcass that other lions have killed. I want to be a restorer and a healer, not an additional predator. I don't want to feed on the detritus of her self-esteem, or she won't demand better, because if she demands better, she'll put affection at risk. Because she doesn't know any better, she goes back to the vomit again. That was her life for many years. And I don't want to be a beneficiary of that. I want to be her recompense for the crappy treatment, not a continuation of it. How much does she love me? I don't know. I think she loves me a lot. But I also think it wasn't a real high branch to give her better than she'd ever seen. It was low-hanging fruit. It didn't take me a lot to blow her mind. But I still choose to treat her like she's a princess that has lived cherished in a castle all her life. Because just because nobody paved the way for her to have high value and high expectations, I refuse to be a profiteer of that lack of standard. And not only do I meet the standard that wasn't met, I exceed it, so that she'll look back in her life and see everything has been made up to her. So I hope she loves me not out of a place of desperation, but out of a place of wholeness, that she's been completely rebuilt and doesn't expect anything less, versus taking whatever scraps somebody might throw her way. I believe that's what it means to love her as Christ loves the church. To love a desperate church to be forgiven is one thing. To love a church that's been washed and declared righteous, and to love them into matured wholeness of soul and wholeness of spirit, that's a totally different thing. And that's what I want to be in her life. This went on way longer than I thought, but I love you.